Water is the key to life. Without it, the human body cannot exist. But not all water is created equal. Clean water access is limited in general to those of the developed world, even though in reality there is more than enough fresh water in the world for domestic use in agriculture and industry. However, the poor are largely excluded from this globally recognized human right. According to the UN report on the global water crisis, access to piped water into the households averages about 85% for the wealthiest 20% of the population. Compare that to only 25% for the poorest 20%. Clean water issues affect over half of humanity today. This is directly tied to the concept of poverty. According to the UN 2014 report on human development, globally 1.2 billion people live on less than $1.25 a day. If you were to increase the income poverty line to $2.50 a day, it raises the global income poverty rate to about 50%, or 2.7 billion people. In today's world, there is a huge inequality gap. Did you know that the 85 richest people in the world have the same wealth as 3.5 billion of the poorest people? In regards to clean water access, almost 2 in 3 people lacking access to clean water survive on less than $2 a day, with 1 in 3 living on less than $1 a day. Of all places in the world, the African continent faces the greatest challenge of any region of the world, with roughly 1 of 330 million people not using a clean water source. Of these 330 million, around 84% of these people live in rural areas. This is a global issue that needs to be addressed. The United Nations said in their Global Water Crisis Report, across much of the developed world, unclean water is an immensely greater threat to human security than violent conflict. I'm sure you are wondering how that could be. Well, let me explain. Throughout Africa and the Third World, each day millions are forced to collect water from drains, ditches, and streams, which in turn leads them to suffer a deprivation that threatens life, destroys opportunity, and severely undermines human dignity. Some 1.1 billion people in developing countries have inadequate access to water, and 2.6 billion people lack basic sanitation. What effects does this have on people in these countries? Close to half of all people in developing countries suffer at any given time from a health problem caused by water and sanitation deficits. According to the 2011 Thematic Report on Drinking Water, on any given day, more than 50% of hospital beds in sub-Saharan Africa are filled with water hygiene-related illnesses. According to the World Health Organization, in the developing world today, poor access to safe water and adequate sanitation continues to be a threat to human health. Approximately 3.5 million people die each year due to inadequate access to clean water and sanitation. 90% of these are children under the age of 5. Worldwide, 1 out of every 5 deaths of children under 5 is due to a water-related disease. In poor countries, the fuel for fire can be so expensive that mothers can't afford to boil water and cook food. That means that there are 30,000 deaths occurring every week from unsafe water and unhygienic living conditions. Access to sanitation, the practice of good hygiene, and a safe water supply could save an estimated 1.5 million children a year. But it is not simply about life or death, but also the quality of life you live. As so eloquently stated by the Water Project organization, water projects relieve suffering, open doors to education, stimulate economic development, and most importantly, introduce a true and lasting hope. Once water projects are successfully implemented into these areas, other initiatives have the opportunity to develop. Projects have shown us that schools begin to thrive, people are able to get back to work, farming becomes sustainable for producing a living wage for a family, and needless health issues and suffering are eliminated. Did you know that 443 million school days are lost each year to children suffering from water-related illness? Women and girls are typically the ones who suffer the most from this burden. In rural settings throughout Africa, women and girls are charged with the responsibility of obtaining their family's daily water supply. In sub-Saharan Africa, 68% of the rural population spends more than 1 hour per trip of water collection. That means that sometimes girls or women lose up to 6 hours daily collecting insufficient, contaminated water. That amounts to 40 billion hours spent every year walking for water in Africa alone. That in turn leads to the loss of opportunity for girls to attend school. In some third world nations, only 50% of girls are enrolled in school due to the lack of toilets. This also limits the ability of women to help grow food or work a job to assist their family. If women could spend less time collecting water and instead increase the yields of their family farms between 20 to 30%, it would lift 150 million people out of hunger each year. If we can help to solve the issue of clean water, we can ensure that more girls will receive an education. Access to food security will increase, leading to a decrease in world hunger. Health issues will decline associated with contaminated water, and the cycle of poverty in these rural communities can be broken over time. So what are we going to do about it? The United Nations suggests that each person needs between 5 to 13 gallons of water a day. Did you know in the U.S., on average, each person uses around 158 gallons of water per day? We challenge all students and their families to commit to the pledge of giving back, one drop at a time. What does that mean for you? That means that you and your family will commit to using less of this precious global resource. In return, you will pledge to donate money that you save to help a community in sub-Saharan Africa to build a well to provide access to clean, non-contaminated water. The project will work through the nonprofit organization, The Water Project. We also ask that students reach out to local businesses and your families to get the message out about this global crisis. Our goal is to raise $5,000. That means that if every student in our school can contribute roughly around $10, we can impact an entire community in Africa. To most of us, $10 doesn't seem like that much money. Help do something amazing for a community in need. Give water. Unlock potential. And remember, just because we are students doesn't mean that we can't make a difference. One drop at a time.